Hey girl, you're tuned into the Grace Code podcast. I'm your host Lisa, and this is a show all about unlocking Jesus in the everyday. What's the everyday? Well, it's things like your faith, career, relationships, health, and so much more. I pray that this podcast leaves you inspired and passionate to find Jesus as you go about your everyday and encourages you to step out of your comfort zone and step into the things that God is calling you to. Hey fam, welcome to the Grace Code. If this is your first time listening, I'm your host Lisa, and I'm so glad you're joining me today for this very special episode. Today we hit double digits. Yes, this is episode number 10, and I'm all about celebrating the small milestones and achievements here at the Grace Code. So for those of you who don't know, there's actually so much that goes into the behind the scenes when producing a podcast. You know, from prayer to research, writing out all the ideas, recording, editing, putting together social media posts, and even approaching guests to come on. But I love it all. And I wouldn't have stepped out and started it if it wasn't for my two cheerleaders who are actually my very special guests today and are going to help me celebrate 10 episodes. So guest number one is man of the moment. It's my husband, Ash. He's the brains behind all the tech problems I seem to create, and he is in a very good mood today. So hello, my darling husband.
Hello, darling wife. Thank you for having me here.
Oh, my absolute pleasure. So tell everyone why you are in such a good mood.
I'm in a good mood because today my NBA team won. So I am a LA Lakers fan and we beat the Miami Heat in Game 6 of the NBA Finals. So it is a very good day.
Woo! I feel like it's been a long time coming.
It's been a few years, and we'll work on your excitement level for future finals, but it's okay.
I really, really doubt that. But I really am so pleased with your enthusiasm there to try and get me on board. So before we came on here and started recording, we had a bit of an incident, and I feel like people that are married probably will really relate to this type of conversation. So what happened?
We were getting set up, and I was getting things set up like I normally do for your podcast. I said today, obviously, I had to get myself included. I went looking for my headphones.
Yes, you did.
And my headphones live on a drawers next to my desk 90% of the time. And
I'd say maybe like 98% of the time.
Okay. And I was like, where are my headphones? Where are my headphones? I stood in front of the drawers looking at them and couldn't see them. And so walked out of the study, out of the office, went around the house, couldn't find them, asked, where are my headphones? And you walked over to my desk and went, they're right here.
Where were
you
they?
Left them.
On the drawers.
On the drawers.
Where they are 98% of the time.
Yes.
And you didn't see them.
And I didn't see them.
So in my household, we call that a boy look. Now, some other things that he boy looked today was his iPad and his phone, all in the space of like 30 minutes. So we had a really good run setting this up today, but we're here at last.
We are. We got here.
Finally. So that is special guest number one. Now, special guest number two is not only, again, one of my biggest cheerleaders, but she is also matchmaker extraordinaire. She's my BFF, and her name is Tabetha. I call her Tab. And I am so excited to have you here, girl. Now, rumor has it that someone in your household is a Grace Code superfan.
Yes. Hi, guys. Tabetha here. And you are 100% correct. My husband, Matt, is one of your biggest fans. I'm not sure when you created this podcast, if you intended for that kind of audience, but this is what you've got. And every Saturday when we go and pick up a local coffee, we listen to the Grace Code on the way because it's lockdown. You know, you got to make it fun, right?
Oh, amen. Preach. There ain't anything more fun than going for a coffee on a Saturday morning.
Mm-hmm.
Amen to that.
So that's actually been our little thing to do, our little tradition. On a Saturday morning, we'll get up early, go take Audrey for a really long walk, go get our coffee and come home. So, I mean, we don't listen to the podcast because I think maybe listening to my old own podcast is a bit strange. But yeah, we like to go for our long morning walk. Good old
Take the
fun
dog.
things.
Yes.
That's it. Okay. So today's episode is all about you guys, or Guy, or one guy in particular, Matt, who listens to us, and all you girls out there. So if you haven't noticed, over the past few weeks, I've popped on my social media to send in questions for either myself or Ash about absolutely anything. So there was no topic off limits. So let me tell you something. Y'all went crazy with that. Like, I just got an influx of questions, which is really exciting. So I have Tabs here today because she's going to ask us these questions and maybe kind of be a mediator for us, because, you know, like, we're married and sometimes you'll need that. So we'll try and get through as many as we can. So I'm going to hand it over to you, Tabs, to give us these questions and let's see how we go.
Yes, awesome. Well, question number 1. When did you guys meet and start dating?
Ooh, good question. Nice one to start the day off with.
Simple one.
It is a simple one. Would you like to answer?
Sure. We met in 2007
Yes.
and we started dating in 2007.
Correct.
So we met in September 2007 at a gospel hip hop outreach event. We met through friends, Tabetha being Lisa's friend and my friend who had brought me to that same event. And then we started hanging out, and then a few months later we started dating and continued to date for many years to come, and then got married 4 years later.
We're still dating, guys.
Yes, we are.
You know, don't worry. So, yeah, that's the real simple story. Hey, so we met, in 2007, started dating in 2007, met through friends, I guess.
Yep.
And Tabs, being the little matchmaker that she is, got us together in the end.
This is true.
She worked her magic in the background through good old MSN.
Yes.
And here we
MySpace.
are. Here we are today.
Oh, man. MSN days, guys.
Right?
Kids these days, they have no idea.
At all. Like, Facebook is nothing.
Yes.
But hot tip, if you want to hear the full story of how we met and some really awkward moments at the start of our dating life, go and listen to episode number 1 because there's the full scoop in there.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, he's silent with that one. You know it's juicy when he's silent. So I'm telling you, go listen to it. It's great.
Awesome.
Oh.
So you guys got married in 2011.
Yes, we did.
Yes. So what are the ups and downs of marriage?
Oh,
Over to you.
really, really good question. So the ups of marriage, I think, would be having that person always there. I mean, that could probably be viewed as a downside for some people as well, especially in this season of lockdown, being there 24/7 with each other. But in all honesty, it is probably one of the best things about marriage.
I'd agree. I think as one of the key ups, it is that it is having somebody there with you all the time, someone for you to bounce off, someone for you to, you know, bounce those ideas off, bounce those conversations off, those feelings off, those things that are going on around you on a daily basis. To then have that someone you can debrief with is really great.
Yeah.
That can also be, you're right, that can also be one of the downs as well, because you have that one person there, and especially in this time that we're in here in Melbourne, like where we're still in quarantine or lockdown or whatever you want to call it, where we can't go see our family, we can't go see our friends, we can't go out. Like, you're in the same house with the one person day in, day out. That can be difficult. I think that's the downside of marriage. Sometimes you need to have that space, and if you don't have that balance of your own private time with versus time with your significant other, it can be difficult. So
yeah, that's true. That's great. I agree.
Love it. Now, this is a pretty heavy question here, but I'm sure you've got a great answer for this. So you guys got married in 2011. I was at the wedding. It was a beautiful day.
Oh, thanks, girl.
So how do you keep your vows and Christ at the center of your marriage?
that's a really good question.
It's a great question.
I think one of the keys is humility. One of the keys is being humble. One of the keys is acknowledging the fact that when you got married on that day, on your wedding day, and you say your vows, like, yes, it's you and your significant other standing opposite you, but you're making that promise with them and with God.
Yeah.
And so therefore you've got to remember that no matter what happens throughout your days, what happens in your years of marriage, this union you have is between you, your significant other, and God. And so whenever you have a fight, whenever you have an argument, whenever you have your good days, your bad days, no matter what it is, you've got to remember that God is in the middle of it and he's in the midst of everything. And so coming back to humility, you know, you've got to be willing to humble yourself at all times, because if you don't, he will. And that's when it's worse off for you.
Yeah, that's great. And I think, the two things here, like keeping Christ at the center 100%, and, you know, do that through taking everything to him in prayer. So whether that be that fight that you guys would have just had, or that decision you need to make, whether big or small, just take it to him in prayer and let him really guide your steps and answer that for you.
Yeah.
And the other thing, which is what you touched on, it's about being humble. And, you know, Jesus served us in so many ways and we in return serve him. But I think so many times we can often forget that we're actually serving each other in a marriage as well. So it's totally coming to that point and being, hey, how can I serve my partner better? And then that person reciprocating it, because as you both continue to do that, you're both putting each other's needs like above the other's person's, if that kind of makes sense. So like completely. My needs are now coming under what I think you need. And so you're always going to be fulfilling each other's requirements in marriage, if that kind of makes sense. So I think, just staying humble and really serving your partner as best as you can.
Christ came as he's a servant leader. And so we imitate that in marriage as well, where we serve each other.
Love it. Love it, guys. Now, what's the best thing about being married? Ooh.
What is the best thing about being married? I mean, you could go a lot of places with this answer, but we won't. Guys, you'll know what we're talking about once you marry. But I think one of the best things is just always having that person there to, you know, really, be your cheerleader and push you into things that you probably never would have pushed yourself into, and really backing you 100%, even though, you know, you might be wrong and they may let you know that you're wrong, or they may let you know that that idea might not be the best idea, but they're still going to back you in it. And, you know, as long as you're hearing from God and God's like, hey, do it, who are they to be able to stop you, really?
It's true though. It's completely true though. It's having that person. I think one of the best things is having that person there that when you're down, they're going to lift you up. When you're up, they're going to continue to encourage you and build you up even higher. Like, there are many times when I'll be flat and I'll be struggling in one day or 1 week, and Lisa's on a high, and so that will carry me. And there are times the opposite way around. And so it's just a matter of it's great because you've got that person there who can help you when you are struggling, when you are down.
Yeah. Totally. And I think you gave a good solid answer there.
Thank you.
That's awesome. And look, I got married a little bit later, 2 years after you guys, but I just think marriage is awesome. You're married to your best friend, someone who you can just be real with. Keep it real, like social media, everything. It's like showing your best, but they see everything.
and still love you anyway.
Still love you anyways. And warts and all, so marriage is the best. Definitely recommend.
100% agree.
Now, if you could go back in time, what year would you visit?
It definitely would not be 2020.
So you're 100% leaving this year altogether.
Look, I'm not even ready to buy a calendar for next year.
Oh my gosh.
Because, you know, if it's another write-off, there goes my money. You know, like
another outbreak.
With that. Oh no,
Lord no.
No,
Lord, we pray no.
Amen. It's not happening. We're gonna live the best year, 2021.
Yes.
Yeah, completely. But if I was to leave and go to another year, for me, it would probably be 2010 leading into 2011.
Yeah.
We had a huge life change in 2011 for us. The start of 2011 where we moved churches due to some unforeseen circumstances. It didn't go so well. But the people at our new church just completely loved us, accepted us, made everything so smooth and so easy. And since then, we're still at that church and we've made some lifelong friends. But that season was just probably one of the best seasons. Even though it was a hard season, it was one of the best seasons because we learned so much. We grew so much and had so much fun just planning our wedding and getting married that year as well.
Yeah, it was great. If I were to go back to another year, and it's one of those things where I think of, hey, if I went back and changed this though, like what would the future have been like? And so for me, it probably would have been maybe 2008. And I probably wouldn't have left my church when I did to go to this other church that we eventually had left as well. Sounds really bad and complicated. It wasn't really that bad. A little bit complicated, but God is good. And so I kind of think, hey, Lord, if I had stayed where you put me, like what blessings would have come out of that rather than what lessons came out of that.
Yeah. Hindsight is 2020, as they say. It's a beautiful thing.
Yes.
Like
is it 2020?
You see everything in hindsight, and hindsight is great, but it can also be a dangerous thing at the same time.
Yeah. You never really want to think and lull too long on that. Oh, what if? Because that's not where like God wants us to sit in that type of place.
Yes.
Yeah.
Awesome. And I mean, 2011, Ash, not going on that where this could go, but your honeymoon, you got to go on a plane and enjoy.
I got to go overseas for the very first time in my life.
Did.
It was our first time overseas.
Yeah.
Good old Vanuatu.
It was so beautiful there. Highly recommend it.
When we can travel again, I think I want to go back there.
Oh, it was the best holiday.
Yeah, love it.
Nothing.
Completely.
It was great. Oh, it was great. Oh,
so
Tubbs.
good. No worries.
Thanks for those memories.
Back to those beautiful or plane or passport.
Right.
Tropical islands, yes, please.
Great fresh produce and fruit. Wow.
Moving along to the next question, please.
Yes,
What a
of
dream.
course. So who would be 3 people, dead or alive, that you would have dinner with?
Ooh.
I know my first
Good
one.
question.
I know my first one straight off the bat. I can tell you this right now.
KB.
Kobe Bryant. Kobe Bryant would be my number one person that I would want
Rest
to have
in
dinner
peace.
with.
Yes.
I was very sad the morning that I found out he passed away.
Hey, but Lakers did it for him today.
They did.
Yeah.
So
Respect.
Kobe Bryant would be number one.
And you say I'm not passionate.
Number 2 and 3, let me think on that one.
Oh, 3 people. This is actually really hard. Like really hard. Like, because if I was being like the cheesy teenage Lisa, I would be like, dang, I want to have dinner with Backstreet Boy.
3 of them.
Perfect. Done. So adulty Lisa, mature Lisa probably needs to think about this. Like, I mean, I can go down the route and be like, you know, Jesus. Who wouldn't want to have dinner with Jesus and just pick his brain for like all the theology in his like mind? I mean, we would not understand any of it.
Yep.
Like, let's get that straight. But still, just to hear it out of his own physical mouth would be like mind blowing, you know? Number 2, bit controversial. Maybe Judas.
Ooh.
Yeah, just to be like, dude, really? What were you thinking?
Yep,
like, you know, really. I mean, we know kind of what he ends up thinking because he later, you know, dies.
Yeah.
So you kind of know that. But still, I'd be curious just to maybe pick his brain a little bit.
Yep.
It would make an interesting dinner party, that's for sure.
Totally.
Very, very, you know, interesting. Number 3, that's the one I'm a bit, you know, stuck on. What about you, Ash? Have you thought of your other answers as of yet?
I think, again, number 1, Kobe Bryant.
Clarify.
Number 2, number 2, there's a couple of people that come to mind. So maybe all of them, but actually Denzel Washington.
Oh. Okay, interesting.
Just because like I've watched his movies and him as a person is really interesting. And I'd be curious to be like, I'd just like to pick his mind and be like, how have you gotten to where you are, yet you just seemed to have stayed so level-headed? And probably the last person that I would probably pick, not as spiritual as you, I am sorry, would be LeBron James.
Oh.
Just because I would like to learn how the heck for 17 years he has stayed so fit and so in shape and so at the top of his career, at the peak of his career for so long. And like the amount of money he invests into his body and into everything, it'd be just curious to pick his brain and go, how do you manage it? Because you have a full-fledged business, you play basketball, you've got a family, your kids are in high school and you're at their games, all this stuff that you got to manage and balance.
Yeah, wow.
How? I
Expert
struggle to
at
balance
time
my
management.
own sleep.
That's a fact. Yes, that is a fact. You know, I was sitting here and now I'm going for, I guess, another spiritual person, which is completely by accident, but I just thought, oh, that'd be really interesting. 2, Smith Wigglesworth. Be interesting to pick his brain. Or C.S. Lewis.
Oh,
yeah, okay, yeah.
So, yeah, I think it would be C.S. Lewis. That would be a
Yes.
great. So, Jesus, Judas, and C.S. Lewis.
Wow.
Yeah, actually, I'll add another one. I know this is more than 3. I'll add another one there. J.R. Tolkien.
Ooh.
Because he and C.S. Lewis were pretty
Buddies,
much
weren't
buddies
they?
and like they wrote some really interesting stuff. So to sit down with both of those two together,
Even get an English lesson from him.
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
that'd be incredible.
What a dream. Yeah, that would
Love
be
that.
it. Something a bit different. I actually didn't think I would pick those 3 people, to be honest.
I didn't think I'd pick who I picked.
Yeah.
I knew Kobe Bryant would be number 1, but I didn't think the other 2 would be.
Oh, yeah, it's funny that. Hey,
Awesome.
what about you, Tabs? Who would you pick?
Oh, okay. I can go down the spiritual route too. I think I would like to have dinner with Paul personally.
Ooh,
Yeah.
Like
that'd
that
be good.
guy just wrote stuff, amazing stuff from prison, like got beat, got in prison. Like he went through
Right.
everything for the gospel, and Jesus was just everything to him. And he was like, I'd rather die and be in heaven, but I'm here for this
Right.
moment. So let's do
Yeah, so
this.
true.
And I just would love to
Yeah.
catch that fire, man.
Yeah,
Especially at
that'd
this
be
time.
great.
And
Right, I so get that.
yes. And because I'm a singer, I would love to have dinner with Alicia Keys and just jam with her because she's just
Yeah,
so cool. And I just love her.
yeah, she's pretty great.
Pretty good. And maybe Lecrae. Like, do you guys know Lecrae?
Of course we know.
Of course I know Lecrae.
Yes. And just like hear him rap, like hear him talk about whatever.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, anyone from that kind of crew would be awesome to chill with for a night.
yeah, transformed my teenage life in early 20s with the Christian
Yes.
hip hop. We didn't have to listen to Tupac anymore or whatever else was out there.
Funny story, just for a bit of bonus tip here, bonus info. When I first got saved, so I was very heavily into hip hop. So when I first got saved, the Lord kind of really convicted me on my musical tastes and was like, you need to delete what you listen to. And I was like, but I love hip hop. And he's like, girl, there's Christian hip hop. And so my husband
Yes.
made me a Christian hip hop mixtape, guys.
Yes.
I treasured it. Here's a hot tip for you guys out there, or, you know, guy listening. To get the girl, give her a Christian mixtape.
Hey.
You'll be solid.
Yeah, the thing is now I gave you a physical CD. Now you just go on Spotify and go share.
Yeah, just make a playlist and share it.
It's not the same.
It isn't. You can't just give it with like a red rose and be like, thinking of you.
True.
Yes. Love
What
that.
time to be alive when CDs were
Oh,
made.
man. And I do have to agree, your husband does have awesome taste in music.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he
just
does.
putting that out there.
If y'all want some Christian hip hop playlists,
Oh, mate.
let me know, and I'm gonna make some Spotify ones.
Yes.
DJ Ash in the house.
Amen.
In fact, he was always asked to like put together playlists for parties. So, you know, he is the guy.
Yes. Now, guys, what's something that you do that annoys the other person? Just segue.
I know what I do. I got told this the other day.
Did you?
Yeah, I did.
Oh, okay. Whoops.
Apparently, when I sit in our office and I'm kind of procrastinating and whatnot, I apparently like to make up songs and sing them really loudly.
So we'll be working. At the moment, we're sharing an office, so we'll be working. I'll be sitting there on my computer, and our desks face each other. So our monitors sort of block
A back to back.
so we can't really see each other. Our monitors block our view of each other. So I'm sitting there working, and the next minute I hear Lisa talking or singing. So like someone talks to themselves, she sings to herself. And like I can put up with it for like a minute or two. But this day, she did it the entire day.
I have no recollection of this. Honestly, I have no idea what he's talking about. So when he told me this, I was like, you're lying. I do not believe you.
And then she walked away and started doing it down the hallway.
Apparently, though, when I left the room that day that I was doing it, oh, so loudly and annoyingly, he was like, oh, I just want to tell her to shut up. So, yeah, apparently I sing to myself.
And guys, this comes back to humble yourself, know what to say and what not to say.
Know when to start the fight and when not to.
Yes.
So, Asha, what's one thing you do that annoys me?
Oh, what's one thing I don't do that annoys you?
Amen. Maybe that is the better question.
No. One thing that I do that annoys you, at the moment, it would be a really small thing, but every day I do it because I forget. And so for those who so in our kitchen, our pantry is a walk-in pantry.
Yeah.
And to walk into it, you have to open the door. And so our microwave is in the pantry. So when I go to make breakfast to heat my oats up or my porridge up, I go in the pantry, I open it up, I put myself in the microwave, I do it everything, get it ready. Then I grab my bowl out of the microwave and I go sit down and I leave the pantry door open.
It's not just when he makes his breakfast. It is for everything. Anytime. Like after we work out and he goes and makes a protein shake, so he'll make his protein and I walk into the kitchen and the pantry door's open. And I'm like, oh, okay, he'll close it this time. I'll go and do something, walk back into the kitchen. It's still open. I'll then walk back out. Go into the kitchen to prepare dinner 2 hours later. It's still open. I'll finally close it because I'm obviously going in and out of the pantry and cooking dinner. But then he might heat up something for snacks later on in the night or go in there and get some tea because he'll make a cup of tea and I'll go to bed and the pantry door's open. I don't understand why he can't just close the door.
I live in a tent. The pantry is my tent.
Well, you do love food.
I do love food.
You know, food is fun.
Yes.
Food is fun. Oh, no.
Well, for us, it's actually the other way around. Matt's forever closing things behind me and he's like, are you going to close that? And I'm really cheeky. I'm like, oh yeah, you can close it. He's like, oh. So yeah.
Married
Sorry,
life
Lisa.
is fun, everyone.
It is, it really
Honestly, this is why y'all just need to go get married.
Mm-hmm. Now talking about fun things in marriage, what's the best gift you've given one another?
Ooh.
Oh, that's a very
I feel like
question.
this should be easier than it is to ask. Like, I have to think about that, but I feel like this should be really easy.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I don't know if it's the best gift I ever gave her, but a gift that I gave her at the very start of our relationship, which I think at the time meant a lot, was so I made her the mixtape, but then Christmas wasn't long after, and like she had one of these old school iPods.
Oh, yeah.
Like it was if those of you who remember, it was the big iPod that had the big wheel in the front.
It was
had
like Gen 1, the white
full
one.
white iPod, white in the front, silver in the back. It was like Gen 1. It was old school. And it only held like, I think 10 gig of songs.
I was like 50 songs or something.
So yeah, it was ridiculous. It wasn't a lot. And so at the time, the new 80 gig iPod Classic had just come out. And so I bought that for her for Christmas. She had no idea. And so when I handed it to her and I gave her the Christmas present and she unwrapped it, she just flipped out like, what? And that was pretty cool. Whether it was the best, I don't know, but it was pretty cool.
Yes. Yeah, I do remember getting that. That was great. Especially because I was doing a lot of traveling into the city. So I was always listening to music or sermons or something.
Yep.
So that was a great gift. What's the best gift I've ever gotten you? I don't know. What is the best gift I've ever gotten you?
Do you really want me to answer for you?
Yes. Yes, I do.
I don't think there's been one single thing. There was, I think, one of the best gift seasons was when it was Christmas 2 years ago, I think it was, and you got me like an AeroPress.
Oh, coffee.
And you got me like coffee and like this hazelnut coffee syrup, which I don't drink
that
anymore,
was a lot
unfortunately.
longer than 2 years ago, I feel like.
However long ago it was, but that was like, that kickstarted my coffee snob career.
What a regret I have.
Now I have like several coffee makers.
Yeah.
I am obsessed with coffee. I liked it back then, but now, thanks to that, I am completely obsessed with coffee.
You are a coffee snob now. I have to admit, like, gifts is one of my love languages. So when I give gifts, I'm very thoughtful about what I'm giving.
Yep.
So to be honest, like the fact that I can't think of the best gift I've given you, I feel really bad about.
Don't. I think it's because you've given so many though. Like you're right. You give so many good gifts, not just to me, but to your family, to friends, to people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do enjoy the giving of the gift.
Yes.
And just seeing the person so filled with joy from just like a little token.
Yeah, exactly.
So it is nice to give a gift.
Awesome. So we are so privileged. We go to the same church and we have had so many awesome pastors and preachers. In your whole life though, what's one sermon that you remember that has completely changed your life?
That's an easy one for me.
Yeah, that's actually pretty easy
one
for
me. So it would actually be at a conference that our church runs, and this particular year, I can't remember the exact year, but I remember this particular year I was struggling with identity at the time. And for those of you who don't know and who are listening, I grew up in the church. So I grew up in the church. I've never left the church. I've been in church my entire life. Yes, struggled with that whole what I do outside of the church or do inside of the church life when I was a teenager, but I always sought after God. And so this particular year, I was really struggling with identity because every great preacher I heard or sermon I heard was from a preacher who had a huge, ridiculous testimony about how they got saved out of drugs and gangs and all this sort of stuff. And I was like, I don't have that huge, amazing testimony. And then Pastor Judah Smith was preaching at our conference for church, and he was sharing his story about how he's grown up in church, and he was just talking about how that in itself can be just as powerful of a testimony, the fact that you stayed and didn't leave. And I don't remember point for point, but I just remember that crux of it and being like, felt like God actually sitting next to me going, don't worry, your story, your testimony is just as powerful as anybody else's.
Yeah. Wow.
That's awesome.
That's so good.
Wow.
Really good. So I actually have two. So the first one comes from the year I got saved, which was 2007. And the pastor was preaching a series on Romans 12:2, which is don't conform to the patterns of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. And so, that was probably one of the first few scriptures I ever memorized because of that sermon series. And every week he did I think it was 6 weeks or 4 weeks, and he broke down every little part of that whole verse. And I'd come out of pretty crazy teenage years and stuff. So
the complete opposite to me.
Yeah, sorry, I have one of those testimonies.
Yes.
And so, just hearing that, we don't need to conform to what the world thinks, to what society thinks, and that it's all, through Jesus, but our mind is actually so powerful, and just reteaching myself thought patterns and things. So that sermon was really, really powerful. The second sermon that was really, really powerful actually only happened February last year, I think. And so our church campus was going through a bit of transition, And the new pastor that was coming on came in and shared a testimony that day. So he was preaching for the first time, and he shared the testimony of some things that happened in their life. And I remember just hearing it and kind of God just going, that's for you, like that, what's happened to them. And so without going into the full details, they had this, due to unforeseen circumstances, they had a huge debt over their head and they had no idea how they were going to pay this. But like through God, this miracle took place where the debt was essentially completely wiped. And the last bit that they were going to have to pay, someone gifted them the money and said they were going to pay for it. So they did not have to pay for this debt whatsoever. So I remember sitting in church that day and we had a bit of debt. And I remember God just going, hey, this is your year. Like, take hold of that. And I was like, okay. And within like 3 months of really taking hold of that, taking hold of the word that was spoken over our church that year, we saw God just move like so powerfully in our life and just, our debt was cleared. All these other things took place. And that's probably really two powerful sermons that I think
that would be my number 2 sermon as well.
Wow.
Like what you've heard so far? Make sure you never miss an episode by clicking the subscribe button now. This podcast is made possible because of listeners like you. Thanks for your support. Now let's get back to the show.
Awesome. Now, in regards to love languages, what's your love language or languages, really?
Well, I touched on one before. It's gifts. I love giving gifts. And so it sounds silly, but I do love receiving gifts as well. But I think I love the giving of them more. And quality time is also another one. Although maybe this year I could be saying we've had too much quality time. I don't know. I'm joking.
I think for me, last time I did this sort of the love languages quiz.
Yes.
It was physical touch and it was words of affirmation. But yeah, I think that was, what was that? That was
probably when we got married.
Yeah, so 9 years ago now.
Ooh.
So I'd be curious to actually do that again and see if any of it's changed or shifted slightly. Because like I know myself personally, I've shifted slightly and changed over the years. So I'd be curious.
Because when I did that quiz at the same time, so I haven't done it again. So I'm going off that it was gifts and quality time. I mean, I think quality time would probably be number 1 now. For me, I think.
I think quality time is definitely still huge for you because when I'm not spending enough time with you and I'm busy doing other things or other little projects, or
I get a bit naggy.
You do get a bit annoyed with me, and then I get told just sitting on the couch watching TV is not quality time.
I mean, it can be, I guess. Anyway.
But yeah, I'd be curious to do it again. But initially it was love language and we should 100%.
Yeah.
Awesome.
There you go. What are yours?
Ooh, I think mine is definitely acts of service. I just love, cooking and just being a wifey and just doing a lot of stuff for my husband. I just find joy in being, like you, generous and giving. And then I think it would be probably physical touch. Like sometimes we don't even have to talk. It's just be next to me. So I'm the opposite of you guys. If you watch TV, as long as I'm next to you, it's all good.
Yeah.
So that's us.
Yeah, great.
Really
I can tell you my dog's is definitely physical touch. Hey, she is all over us. She's actually in the room and I'm really surprised she hasn't tried to jump on my lap.
Yes.
She's like asleep on the floor. It's kind of cute.
Audrey.
But good old Ords.
Yes. Now, how are you both coping with lockdown?
Oh, well, I think many people know how I would be coping because I seem to say quite a bit about it on previous episodes. So for those of you that haven't listened to any previous episodes, I was coping really, really well. I actually did an episode on 5 things that I'd learned so far in that first season of when we were placed into lockdown. So we're in Melbourne and we've kind of had this first stint when it first all happened back in like March. Then we were let out and then we've kind of been back in it since July. And so I think all of us are now really over it and all going really stir crazy. Even like my introverted self is like, I'm done. Like I've had enough. I want people. Like I need a hug from somebody. I need to go to my mom's house and have her chicken. Yeah, that's where I'm at.
Oh my gosh.
But I'm good.
Yeah. I think I am a 50-50 introvert extrovert. So I hover in the middle of that.
Yeah.
And so at the very start of this, like some people, when I tell them this, they laugh at me and go, how naive are you? But like when all this started, to give some context to just how I'm been thinking and feeling, when all of this coronavirus stuff started back in March here in Australia, my work sent out an email saying that it was strongly advised for us to work from home due to coronavirus. And I was like, what the heck is coronavirus? And I came home from work that afternoon.
I remember
and
this so
I walked in the
clearly.
house and Lisa was in the kitchen cooking and I said, hey, have you heard of coronavirus? And she's like, yeah, what do you mean? Where have you been? And I'm like, what is it? And she told me the whole story and I looked in the news and I was like, whoa. But that was back in March. And then from like the 11th of March till now, I've been work from home and for the foreseeable future and work from home until it changes. But it's now getting to a point that I'm struggling. Like my introverted self at the start was okay with it because we've been flat out, just busy. To have a break and a rest was great, but now I'm at that point where I'm struggling. I want to get out, and also being a photographer, like the not having the ability to go out. And I'm a primarily landscape sort of nature photographer, so not having the ability to go out and do that and explore and hike and
really tap into your hobby.
Really tap into my hobby and that thing that helps center me and keep me grounded. That is becoming really hard now. So yeah, I'm at that edge where it's like, hey God, you really need to continually give me peace and give me joy because I'm struggling at the moment.
Yeah, I love that, Ash. I actually cannot wait for the day that we can all jump in a car again together. One car. That'd be great, right?
Yeah, I know.
You guys have the full drive, so we'll bring the picnic. Let's just go anywhere.
Everywhere. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Totally.
100%. I am with you. Bring me
I've
the
even-
ocean.
Oh my gosh.
I've even started looking at like buying a van and converting the van and
Pray for
like
me.
just going somewhere, just to be able to go somewhere and not have to pay for a hotel, but sleep in my van.
Do you know what I've said though? I'm like, let's just take the car, throw down the back seats and sleep in the back. And he's like, nah, that's not good.
I might be changing my mind on that. I have been researching foam mattresses for that, but that's not the whole thing altogether.
We've got a sunroof, beautiful stars.
Yes.
Audrey can come wherever we go.
That's it.
This is what
great.
lockdown does to you people. It makes you dream of things that you would never dream of before. And then all you do is fantasize about those things because you can't do them.
Or it makes you redecorate your house 20 times.
That has happened. Fact.
We're in the middle of it again.
That we are. If you look at her Instagram stories, you will see it.
Yes, we are building out my little studio for my podcast and other fun things to come.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that's
fun
awesome.
times. But yeah, let's bring on that road trip. I can't wait.
Totally.
Yeah, I'm excited. Now, out of you two, who's more competitive?
Ash.
Me. I don't mean to
We
be.
play Monopoly. it's over.
my
Game
gosh.
over.
I don't mean to be. It just comes out. Whatever game it is, it just comes out. I have to win.
Play Mario Kart. Game over.
Play Super Smash Brothers.
Game over. Play basketball. Game over.
Like she beat me in Super Smash Brothers like 3 times in a row about a year ago, and we didn't play it for 6 months.
So he's
Banned.
So not only is he more competitive, he like cancelled it because he's a sore loser.
Oh.
Then fighting words are coming out.
Can be. I'll admit it. I can be sometimes. Yes.
But we do really love each other, everyone.
Yes.
We really do. But yeah, he's definitely the more competitive one.
Yep.
It doesn't matter what we're doing.
No.
And the best thing is when I need him to do something, I just make it a competition and he'll do it. It's brilliant. Like, hey,
genius.
I reckon you could clean the kitchen in like 20 minutes. I'll show you I can.
I don't think
15 minutes later, kitchen clean.
and
You know, now that you said that, it's not going to work anymore.
But you're a male, so I'm sure it will.
Oh, stereotyping there.
Not at all, just you. Plus, there's only you and Matt that listen to this that are males, so we're all good.
I love that. So what's God be teaching you about lately?
Oh, okay. Going back to that serious, deep questions. Hey. Well, he's been speaking to me a lot about pressure and the pressure we put on ourselves to like not perform, but like to do things sometimes that don't necessarily need to be done, if that kind of makes sense. So like I did speak on a podcast on this, funnily enough, a few weeks ago, but I really brought in like, I guess the reference to say social media and the pressure to constantly having to post and constantly having to, you know, really show up there in order to get like that engagement, in order to have, you know, what you're doing being put out there. And it was kind of like, I don't want to feel that pressure. And so like I'm only kind of really using social media when I feel like I need to. And so, yeah, that doesn't necessarily benefit me in what like the world would see as a benefit because, hey, I'm not gaining followers fast enough. And hey, I don't get as many likes as everyone. And hey, no one's really engaging. But I know the people that are the ones that need to see what I'm doing. Because like I'm going to post when God's like, hey, I've got a word I want you to share with these people. Go and post. Rather than like, hey, I'm under pressure. I haven't posted today. What can I quickly write and get out there? And so I don't want to be that person. So he's really speaking to me about like that kind of stuff. What about you, Ash?
At the moment, it's got probably a lot to do with this whole lockdown COVID-19 situation that we find ourselves in, particularly for me, who's asking questions like, why is this happening? Like, why are decisions being made at a government level that are restricting us? Why are you allowing this? Like, that's the sort of stuff I've been debating and wrestling with.
Yeah.
And just hearing God speak to me about his sovereignty through it all.
Yeah, wow.
And like even in one of my, like we lead a small group together and one of our small group members asked us a question about the sovereignty of God. And I answered the question, but
wonderfully.
Ever had one of those situations like, I don't know if anybody out there has had this where you're answering a question to somebody else, but as you're answering it, you can hear God speaking through your words to yourself. Yeah. Like that was what's happening. So it's all about, for me at the moment, it's just his sovereignty and knowing and trusting that no matter what is going on around me, I may not like it, but he's in control. I may not see how, I may not understand how, but he's in control.
Yeah. Awesome. And that's it. That's what it all comes back to. Just really trusting in him and going, okay, I don't know what's happening next, but you do.
Yeah, exactly.
You've already seen everything happening and planned.
Yes. Now, these questions are going back and forth in seriousness. Yeah.
Super deep. Let's have a joke.
I mean, I don't know if this is a joke, but imagine this. Your house is burning down. Your people and your pets are safe. What are the three things you will grab?
Oh, well, if, family and pets are safe, that kind of rules out them. Photos, I don't have a lot of them because they're like at my mum's place, but everything's on the cloud these days. So I guess as long as I can get cloud access, I've got access to everything. So like, I'm like, do I need to grab my laptop? Don't I need to grab my laptop? This is a very difficult question once like the main things are safe.
I would actually grab my laptop.
Okay. Yeah, look, I probably would too because it's very expensive.
Yeah. Not just because of that, but I grab my laptop because yes, things are in the cloud, but I know there are some things on my laptop that are not in the cloud.
Yeah.
Is that for me too?
Yeah, probably.
Okay, I'll grab my laptop.
And my life and so my work and everything that I do is on that. So at least if my house burns down, at least I can still work.
Yeah.
After that, it would be probably my wallet and my car keys.
Oh, yeah. Clever.
Because if I grab my wallet, at least then I've got my IDs. Because
Cards and all that
we don't
stuff.
live in a world in Melbourne anyway, Australia, where there's digital IDs. So I need my physical ID and car keys at least so we can get away or get around or go sleep in our car somewhere at least.
Yeah.
Clever.
Ooh.
Well, then, I would be laptop.
Yeah.
Probably my iPad too, because I've got Procreate on it and I do a lot of my design work on that.
Yeah.
I don't know. What else do I have that's like sentimental in this house?
Can I?
I mean, a lot of interject.
Can I interject? You have committed quite a bit of time to Animal Crossing. Are you just going to let that burn or?
Well, the thing is, that is saved in the cloud.
Oh.
So you can restore your island. So you could always buy a new Switch and then restore your island.
Oh, thank
there we
God.
go. There we go. See, everything with the cloud, it just takes out all the pressure, doesn't it?
Except for the fact that I'm the one that has to manage your cloud storage.
I didn't ask you to. When two become one in marriage, cloud storage is included in that.
Especially when your husband's a tech person. That's your domain.
Exactly. You brought that on yourself. I didn't ask you to do it.
So, okay. So true.
See,
Yes.
that's right. Actually, I know what I would grab. I would grab my Bible because I write in my Bible a
Ooh.
lot. So I would want that. Or my journals, like all that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
which I generally together.
Yeah.
So,
Awesome.
yeah, I don't know if that's a really good answer, but that's at the moment what I would grab.
It's all good. And I'm also surprised that Ash didn't get his Kobe Bryant jerseys because they're probably going to be worth a bit of money. So I'll just run in and get them.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
Yeah, gotcha.
Oh, that's great.
Now, I love...
Maybe he's wearing them.
Oh, that's true. Maybe he puts one on you too, Lisa, and one on Audrey.
One on Audrey. You're all dressed. Let's go.
Hey, that's not a bad idea.
Yeah.
I'm going to store that one away.
Yeah. Now, I have actually benefited from this personally coming up, this question now. I love this. Lisa and Ash, because you support this, what's the ultimate way to save seats at church conference? Come on.
You have to answer this one.
You guys are
because I am terrible at saving seats.
Well-
You're the one that saves all the seats.
I used to do this a lot more because of just like being a leader for our small group. We'd always want to be sitting together. So the aim, number one, get there with enough time to line up close to the front.
Yep.
Number two, try to know somebody that ushers. Just, I know they say they don't have favorites, but like low key, they got favorites. Number three, pack as much clothing as you can. Scarves, jackets, drink bottles, lunch boxes, everything, Bibles, pens, notepads, socks, anything and everything that you can bring with you, wear layers. Bring it. And as soon as you get in there, just throw it on every single seat you are surrounded by. Now, I know this because I seem to have been that person always allocated to save seats. I don't know how. And the amount of times I had to be like to ushers, my friends are just in the toilet. They're coming back. Just to make sure I had someone to sit with. It was not fun.
That would be the number one hint I would give you. And I don't save seats often. I'm terrible at it.
Yeah, I always have to do it.
The number one thing I would say is say yes to doing it if your friends are no more than 5 minutes away.
Oh,
yeah, that's true.
If they are 10 to 15 or 20 minutes away, it ain't going to work because the ushers are going to call your bluff.
Yeah,
and then you're
true.
stuffed.
Yeah. And try to have at least one other person with you.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
So it's kind of like, they've got seats for their friends and you have seats for your friends and that kind of stuff. But I didn't have to do it the past couple of years because I served in an area that I wasn't really in every session. And if I was in a session, I kind of had allocated seating kind of thing. So yeah, maybe
Yes.
next year if we get to have conference,
Yes, we will.
I'll make sure to pack my scarves.
Yes, in Jesus' name. We
I love
will.
that question. It's a great question.
So good. It's also applicable to Sunday church as well.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now, what?
I was about to say what services, and I was like, maybe not.
Oh, yeah.
But for those who know, they know. If you know, you know.
Yep.
Now, what's the best advice you've ever been given and who was it from?
Ooh, good question. I don't know. I don't have a good memory, I'm realizing as I do these questions. But I don't know, like it's up there in advice that I've been given. And it was given to me by my pastor. And she said that it doesn't matter what happens and who's around you and what they've done to you or what you've done them, just continue to love people offensively. Because no one's really going to be able to get offended if you're loving them.
Yep.
Oh.
So, yeah, that's probably one of the great pieces of advice I've been given.
Oh, it's a tough one because one of the pieces of advice, I don't know if you'd call it advice or just perspective
Yeah.
that I was given was when I was in Bible college. It was from one of my lecturers who was also a good mentor of mine. And it was sometimes in life you feel like you're dealing with the same situation over and over and over again. And you keep thinking to yourself, I've dealt with this. Why is it coming up again?
Yeah.
And he was saying sometimes you just need to shift your perspective. So often we look at something from the top down and it just looks like it's flat. It's the same thing over and over and over again. But if you shift your perspective maybe to the side, then you'll see that no, what you're actually dealing with is maybe a similar issue or maybe the same issue, but at a different intensity because you're going up a mountain. So if you picture a mountain and you've got a road going around the mountain, as you're climbing up this mountain, you maybe get into a similar point or the same point each time, but you're getting to it at a higher level, at a more intense level. And it's like, realize that you are growing.
Yeah.
And through this growth, every time you face this wall, this challenge, it's a new stage of growth for you.
Yeah.
And that really challenged me and helped me because at that season in Bible college, I was struggling. And so that really encouraged me to push through.
Actually, as we were sitting here, I just thought of another piece of advice.
Yep.
And I'm trying to think if it was a previous leader of ours who gave it to us or if it was one of your Bible lecturers that gave it to you and you shared it with me. I can't remember. But it was a question to always check in with yourself, which I've then kind of taken on when I'm leading people and when I do check-ins with them. I'm always asking them this one question because it's literally going to sum up everything that is happening in your life. And that question is, how are you and Jesus?
It was my Bible college lecturer.
Yeah, okay. I couldn't remember because I remember this leader of ours also asking that to me one day and I was like, oh, who was it? But yeah, because once you can answer that question, you're going to know why what's happening in your life is happening pretty simply. So yeah.
Yeah, it's a good question. It's a question that he used to, the same mentor and lecturer, used to challenge me with on a daily, weekly basis.
Good one.
That's
It's
awesome.
a good one.
Yes. And so what are some character traits that should be looked for in a significant other?
Oh, wow. Back to these deep and meaningful questions. Well, I think you need to make sure that they gel with your personality.
Yep.
Like, you may be opposites, which is great. But I mean, you don't want to be at the level of opposites where you're literally like wanting to,
You want to be at opposites
you
where
know, strangle them.
you want to be at opposites where opposites balance each other out.
Yeah, exactly. That's such a better way to put it.
Yeah.
I'm here to help. It's okay.
I appreciate it.
I think it's a difficult one because I think it's going to come down to a lot of different factors and each person is different.
Yeah.
So you've got to, but I think one key thing is they've got to be somebody who loves what you love as well.
Yes.
Like they got to love God and they don't have to have the exact same hobbies as you and the exact same things, but they've got to love what you love because they love you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah. And I think, like they've got to love God. Like, I mean,
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
like that kind of ends up encompassing everything really because, you know, if you're serving in church and they don't want to, well, there's already one issue that's probably going to come up because you're out of balance.
Yeah.
But then you've obviously wanted to look for character traits that are going to build you up, you know, make you stronger and push you into things so that, you know, you can grow into the person that you should be when you enter a marriage.
Yep. I think if you really want a character list or a character traits list to look at,
the fruits of the Spirit.
just look at the fruit of the Spirit. Are they demonstrating the fruit of the Spirit? And if they are demonstrating that, then great.
Yeah.
You know, and humility, like the fruit of the Spirit, it's not listed there so much, but humility is key.
Yeah.
Like, are they a humble person?
Yeah. Are they willing to learn? And are they teachable?
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Yep.
Yeah. Mature. Yeah.
Completely.
There's so many. Yeah. But yeah, fruit of the Spirit.
That's
totally
so true.
Spirit.
Awesome. Loved
So
all of that. And I too loved how you guys said about the fruit of the Spirit, because it just shows it only comes out of relationship with the Holy Spirit. You know, people can try and emulate it in the flesh, but it doesn't happen. So
that's right.
if they got the fruit of the Spirit, they got the relationship with the Holy Spirit, that's a pretty good person.
Yeah, exactly.
Amen. Now, what advice, because you guys are both creatives in your own right, what advice? Yes.
Yeah. What
advice do you have for someone wanting to pursue a creative career?
I'm going to hand this one over to you because
entrepreneur.
The reason I hand this one over, I'm not an entrepreneur. I actually enjoy the 9 to 5 because I struggled to run my own business. I tried to run my own business once and I struggled with it. So I'm not entrepreneurial that way. Creative hobbyist, yes. Creative career, my love, take it away.
Wow.
Or just go listen to her podcast that she did last week.
Yes, part 1 of a 3-part series, all about being a entrepreneur and the chronicles of me starting up many, many creative businesses. So, yeah, I feel really awkward sometimes plugging my own episodes. But in that episode, I say, if I'm not going to plug myself, like, who is going to? You're not going to promote yourself. No one else is going to. So,
I will.
Go listen to it. Oh, thanks, darling.
You're welcome.
Thanks. Anyway, advice. Okay. So if you're pursuing a creative career, then you know you have some sort of gift or talent in that area. So you've recognized that, which is amazing. So your next step, I think, would be to make sure that it's actually a viable career choice for you. So, you know, I talk about this in that episode where offer your service or your product for friends for free for feedback. So, you know, I'm graphic design, so I'll make your logo for free, but can you please tell me how it goes, like the processes that I use, and then work your way around that. So was the communication there? Is there something better that you can do? Because you don't want to launch something that isn't perfect. Not that it's not perfect, but you don't want to launch something that your processes are a bit off, because then you're going to have communication issues with your clients and things like that. So you want to get them like pretty well sorted out before you do that. The other thing is, if you've got a craft of some sort, whether that might be singing, writing, whatever it may be, make sure you're constantly learning and educating yourself in that realm. So, you know, keep practicing your drawing, keep practicing your singing, keep bettering yourself at it. So you can always take that to the next level in what you're doing and what you're creating. But yeah, I think go for it. You know, if everything works out, just do it.
Yeah.
I mean, the worst that can happen is you fail.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And you can always come back from that. Trust me, because I have. So yeah, just do it.
The only thing I would add, and it's not a big thing, I don't think, but it's probably in line with what you said, like, is the career viable?
Yes.
Is also determine, is the creative thing that you have something you want to make a career and a job out of?
Yes,
or is that creative thing a hobby? Because I know sometimes people say, oh, if I could just turn my hobby into like my career or my job, and it's like, that'd be awesome. I wouldn't work a day in your And you hate it because all of a sudden
the thing you loved is turning into work.
And so you want to make sure that it's not that. And if it is something that you do want to make a career, like, I love photography, but I would not want to make it a complete career for me, because for me, it is that hobby thing. It is that thing on the side, that thing that releases the creativity in me to help me.
Yeah.
I feel like if you want to make like something like that, photography, music, whatever it is, your creative career, and you want to go down that path as a full-time job, great. My advice to you, get a hobby.
Yeah, totally. And I found that when I guess, started my design stuff, because it originally started out as a hobby, like making wedding invitations on the side. Then I turned it into a business. But then I didn't have a hobby.
Yep.
And then it slowly started to be something that I didn't find as much joy in.
Yep.
I kind of was like getting a bit, oh, I have another client. Oh, they have another change they want to make. Oh, they want to do this again. I'm like, oh. But yeah, so it's definitely a lesson I think I've learnt.
Yep.
Awesome. Now, how long have you been in church and ministry for?
For me, I've been in church all my life. I had a mum. So I am South African. So I had a very African mum in this sense that when it came to church on a Sunday, I was going, no questions asked. Like I remember trying to sleep in one morning and like not getting up for church. I was asleep in my bed, and the next minute I just hear heavy footsteps coming down the corridor and my door slams open, and then the next minute the bedding flies off me and I'm like freezing, like, what happened? And my mum's standing there going, you got 10 minutes, get up or we're going to church. And like at the time I wasn't happy, but I look back now and I go, I'm so grateful that she did that. I'm so grateful that she kept me on that path. So yeah, I've been in church all my life. In terms of ministry, I guess I've been leading a small group with my wife for what's it been now, 3 years or so.
Yeah,
And
but
then-
you were a youth leader and stuff as well. So
Okay, yes, I've probably been a youth leader since I was a youth leader from the time that I was 20 up until 24, 25, and then just served in church in different departments, mainly media. And then, yeah, in the last 3-5 years, we've either been an assistant in a small group, helping lead it, or we've been running it.
for me, I have been in church since 2007. So that's 13 years. Gonna be 14 next year. Happy birthday to me. And ministry, well, I guess I was a youth leader too at some point in that time.
Yep.
And that started in like 2008. So maybe even 12 years in and out of some form of ministry, I guess. I mean, yeah, it's a bit of a complicated kind of one to describe.
But you've probably solidly been doing it now in the last 5 years, I would say.
Yeah.
Since I would say since 2013.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah.
Since about 2013.
Awesome.
It's a bit of a weird one for me. But yeah.
And
been great.
let us not forget the days that Ash was on the praise and worship team.
Oh, let's not bring that up. Let's not bring that up.
Right.
And you
days
too,
are-
Lisa.
Singer.
When
Oh,
you
sing
yeah, it was a
those
very long
At
time.
one point.
Very long time ago.
Those days are behind us.
Yes, we've moved on. We have moved
Very
on.
much so.
Now, all three of us, we are in Bible college. We get to do
We
one
are.
unit together at the moment, which is pretty fun. I mean, as
We
much.
do a lot of things together. Like, you were like, we go to the same church. You were a matchmaker. So we met in like 2006 when you came to Melbourne from Perth.
Yep.
So Tabs was the receptionist at the dance school I went to. And we just like gelled.
Yeah.
And then we've kind of done everything together. It's been great.
Love it. Love it. Big, long history.
Yeah. We'll get into it one day, that's for sure.
Oh, yeah, true. Let's do that. And including all the studies that we've done. But for now, let's look at Bible college. What's the best and worst things about Bible college? And how do I know if I should go there?
Oh, good question.
It's a very
It's
good
a great
question.
question.
It's a great
Yeah.
question. The best thing about Bible college is the fact that you get to learn more than what you may learn just from a Sunday or in a small group. Like you get the time set aside to go deeper. And followed up by that, the second best thing in my opinion is the fact that the people you are probably going to be studying with aren't going to have the exact same opinion as you.
Yeah.
And so you get to meet people of different opinions. And depending on what Bible college you go to, you may even get to meet people from different denominations.
Which is great.
Which is great because you get to, in a spiritual, humble way, butt heads and have discussions and arguments and debates, which are actually arguments and debates that are going to help sharpen you and the other person overall as a Christian. So I think they're the two best things, like the amount, what you get to learn and the fact that you get to, at the same time as learning that, you get to use that and test that knowledge as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great. And I think the other thing is just the friends you make. Like they can end up being your lifelong friends. And they're the ones that are really going to help you when you are, then out in ministry doing the day-to-day things that are going to be around you, praying for you, that are there, that you can bounce things off, that are really going to pull you up when you have those days that can just be a bit sucky.
Totally.
Yeah. So true. And I guess in terms of how do you know if you should go there? I mean, I'll just put in 2 cents here.
Yeah, go for it.
I guess if you've got a desire, it's got to be from God, to be honest, because I had the desire to go for so long, but I just didn't feel qualified. And then I just had a meeting with a pastor and they're like, what do you mean? Like, you've got the desire, like, God has called you. God will qualify your call. And man, like Bible college has been hard, in terms of identity and in terms of just stepping out and doing stuff out of your comfort zone. But everyone's at the same level. I mean, people have been Christians for longer or shorter, but I feel like, there's just so much good to come out of it, but you definitely have to be called.
100%. And it's that call that's going to get you through those hard subjects and those hard days. Like when you're like, I have 10 assignments to do. How am I going to get this all done? And it's going, well, I'm called to do this. So I'm just going to do my best, get it all done, stay on top of work, push through, because it's not going to be a long season for most people. It's just a short season of the rest of your life. So, if you can make it through and persevere, then you've got this. And I think knowing if you should go is, one, you're going to have that desire, obviously pray on it, but then deciding where you go, you really just need to go, hey, am I going because I want like this strong theological knowledge and I want to learn how to, really dig deep and help people, I guess, debate on like theology and, really back up their beliefs? Or are you wanting to go for self-development? And, that's really going to help you flesh out where to study, what to study when it comes to Bible college.
Yeah, so true. So, Lise, you say you have a food blog, but what's your biggest cooking fail? And have you ever set anything on fire?
Oh, no. Yes. So I do have a food blog. So I like to think of myself a little bit of a decent cook, I guess.
She is.
But I have set something on fire. And I think it's actually probably my biggest cooking fail. I was making ham and cheese croissants for Ash one day at my parents' house. So we used to live with my parents. So I was making them there and I was pretty tired. So it was early in the morning. And, after a day or two, like croissants can really dry out. So you generally make them, like heat them up in a microwave or put them in the oven with something and, make it all nice and tasty. So I was like, hey, I'm going to make him these, be the nice wife that I am. So I've cut them, put them in the grill, walked away, came back. They were on fire and black.
Oh my God. Please tell me he ate them out of respect. No.
I don't think I gave them to him. I think they were pretty bad.
Jokes.
Memory. But yeah, I have set something on fire and it was croissants.
Oh.
Which should be like the easiest thing to make ever. It's like toast.
And it's already pre-made.
Right? Just putting some ham and cheese on them. What a fail.
Oh.
Yeah, it was pretty funny. There you go. Ash, have you had any cooking fails?
I don't cook. realistically, I don't really cook.
Yeah.
But I have had one, and it was actually while you were away on holiday.
Yes, I remember hearing this story.
Yes. You were away on holiday with your mum, and so we were still living with your parents at the time. So it was me and your dad at home, and your dad, being a butcher, decided he was going to bring home the largest steak I'd ever seen in my life. And so he started cooking us steaks, and I'm like, hey, cool. Are we having anything else with it? And he was like, no.
Straight up asking.
And he was just cooking the steaks. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to put some chips on for myself. And he's like, that's cool. I don't want any. I'm like, all right, cool. So I got some chips, the frozen kind, and put them on an oven tray and put them in the oven. And while they're in the oven, he finished cooking the steak. So I grabbed my steak and the chips weren't ready yet. So I went and sat down and ate my steak while I waited for the chips to finish. 3 hours later, he comes to me and goes, Ash, did you have something in the oven? And I'm like, oh no. And I get up, I run to the oven, I pull the chips out, and they are rock hard, as black can be.
Oh, they were gone.
They were just destroyed. And I was like, this is why I do not cook.
Oh, that's hilarious. Yeah.
Oh, good memories.
Yep. Good job. That's so funny. You asked my dad like he's going to cook you a 6-course meal. Oh, are we having anything else?
No, just steak.
Well, it was just meat. I'm like, where's the veg?
You had potato. Wow, you could have had
I could have had a potato, but I ruined it.
No.
Yeah. This is why Ash does not cook.
Amen to that.
Too funny.
I love that. Now, we are soon to be wrapping this up, but I've got one last question. Do you guys have any parting advice for young budding love?
Ooh, young budding love.
All I would say is something I've said probably numerous times already, and that is stay humble. Stay humble, keep Christ at the center of what you're doing. Like, always keep checking in with your own heart and with him in the midst of it all. Because if he's not at the center of it, then it's not going to work, even if it is the right thing, because it's just going to be hard work, and you don't want it to be hard work. You want it to be a joy.
Yeah.
So keep him at the center and keep humble and willing to compromise and to learn.
Yeah, that's good. I think I would say something really similar to that. And also going off the whole keeping Christ at the center, like it's so easy when you get into a new relationship to have that become your sole focus, because it's all new and it's all exciting and you're like, oh, I finally have someone.
Yeah.
So as soon as you forget about God in the midst of it, that's where you're going to start seeing even just your own walk kind of falter. And it's so innocent, but you're going to start seeing just your focus shift completely. So, you might stop doing things that used to bring you joy because you're putting so much time and effort into this person.
Yep.
And you might step back from responsibilities because, you want to spend more time with this person.
Yeah.
And the more you do that, when and if something may happen, that's where you're going to realize, oh, hey, I was putting more focus on this person than the things that actually really matter, like the things that are eternal.
Yeah.
So it's just also kind of really being careful and balancing that as well.
Yeah, totally.
Because of course that person matters, especially if it's someone that, you see yourself marrying, but that's not eternity. Like, let's remember what, our Christian walk is about.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, I hope that kind of is making sense and encouraging for you all.
So Tabs,
you're
married. What about you? What advice do you have?
Yes, Tab, what advice do you have?
For me, I guess it's knowing your worth, keeping that in mind and really sticking to what you believe. Like, if you want to be a committed person in your marriage, like sticking to what your commitments that you have made. Sometimes, like for example, when we were dating, it's a little bit of a complicated story, but I met my husband when I was away from God, and he wasn't a Christian. And then I felt God pulling me back towards him, and I started going to church and bringing Matt along. And I wasn't trying to manipulate him or force him to become a Christian. But yeah, like he he enjoyed it and he slowly came to God, which is awesome. But it came to a point where I had to be like, this is who I am. Like, God is a major part of my life, and he's always going to be a part of my life and my future. Like what I see with my husband and my kids, I want to bring up my kids in the house of God. So if you're with me, you're with me. If not, there's the door. And he stayed, but it took me so long to get to that point because I was like, oh my gosh, she's going to leave me. Like, what am I going to do? And then you forget your worth, and it's like, no, God wants what's best for you. And of course, my story was a little bit more complicated, but God worked through that, which is awesome. But like the more grounded you are in who you are in Christ and what he has for you, like knowing your worth and keeping that at the center is pretty important. And it goes both ways. So then that way you respect their worth as well because they hold their ground. So
so good.
Yeah, that's so great. Really sticking to your convictions. That's awesome. Well, everyone, thank you so much, Ash and Tabs, for joining me today for this fun little, I guess, Q&A sesh. I think it was really fun.
Yes.
And I think there was some really great advice shared from all of us for budding young couples out there and just, in general. So hopefully those of you that were listening today felt really encouraged. And if you have any other questions, as always, feel free to jump over onto our Instagram account, which is @the.gracecode, and send me through a DM. I'm always happy to answer them. Now, I guess that's a wrap for this week's episode number 10. It was such a great little celebration. So I hope you all enjoyed it, and I'll catch you next Wednesday for episode number 11. And have a beautifully blessed week. Thanks so much for joining us this week on the Grace Code podcast. This show is made possible because of listeners like you. If you want to find out more about the Grace Code, head over to our Instagram @the.gracecode and say hello. If you haven't already, make sure you hit subscribe so you never miss an episode, and be sure to tune in next Wednesday when we drop our next show. Until then, have a beautifully blessed week.